Greetings, everyone. Good afternoon, and welcome to the Tawnya Love Show. I am so excited for those of you that could connect with us today, and we apologize for being a little late. We were having some trouble getting connected on the internet, so thanks for being patient with that. And I'm going to nudge all of you that are here live to go to the login and put in a nickname or any name. You can use your real name or something else and log into the live chat so that you can send in questions, comments, and your own insights. Today, the topic for the show that I'm feeling led to speak about is aligned education. And I've requested with a few friends and loved ones to write in or call in today if they're able to. And those of you listening, if you're in any way connected with the education system and have something to say about it, I really welcome your input. I would love to hear from teachers, from parents, from students, and I have some input that I'm going to share from children I've connected with recently, as well as teachers, and just what I've been observing. And also being, I haven't been in the education system in a while, but I remember being in school and things that felt good and things that didn't feel so good about that. And so I encourage you to log in right now. And then any of you that want to call in live, you can call into 919-518-9773 and you can talk to us live. So remember, the first person to call in, I will do an angel reading for if you'd like one. And I welcome those calls now. Also, computers, 2K voice, if you're on Skype, you can log in or call in that way. So, Amnon, you just let me know if you get anybody writing in because
I will.
I would love to hear from them. But basically, what led to this conversation is just like always, I'm just paying attention and observing life, and that's what gives me my topics to talk about each week. And this week, it's been over the last couple weeks, I've had a lot more feedback coming in from teenagers and my own teenagers included, where they've really been expressing their frustration, their anger, like getting pretty fired up about how they feel about school. And I've just been observing how so many kids seem to have more issues with depression these days and just issues with being, I just would say, just being passionate or driven with the whole school educational system and feeling excited to go to school and excited to learn. And so part of this show is to hear what your insight is. And the other side is I'm going to get us back into the topic of vibrational alignment and help us to find solution for whatever it is that we're not liking. Because if you remember when we've talked in the past about laws of attraction, whatever we're focusing on, we're creating energy and we're creating more energy towards either what we don't like or towards what we love. And so sometimes what can be a challenge for souls that have come in to a structure that's not in alignment and it doesn't feel good is they can get too focused on what they don't like, too focused on the problem, and just complain about it, and feel resentful and anger, and forget that they're very powerful creators. And by doing that, they actually are feeding that misaligned system. So part of this show is to also remind us of our vibrational alignment and how we manifest, and that if we're focusing on what we love or what we hope to have, even if it's not here yet, this is where we are becoming the creators of a new dream. So it's easy for us if we're just wanting everyone to have done the work for us and we just want to show up on the planet and everything's perfect, then that would be great and everything would already be set up. But that's not the experience I've had. It's been that we come in, we see things that are already here. There's a big contrast of situation on the planet. We have all these different choices and options for everything. And as we go through experiences, we learn what we like and what we don't like. It's just part of what our soul's doing. It's filtering out information. It's like, oh, this is efficient. That's not so much fun. Oh, I really love this. Don't really care for that so much. And when we're doing that, it's important that we acknowledge what we feel about things, but again, that we focus on our vibrational alignment of what it is we're ready to create. So this is why so many of the workshops I've been leading with the empowering of the empath workshops and explaining the angelic presence and their guidance, what they're here helping us with, is that they're really here helping to empower us, helping us to remember the powerful creators we are so that we can create a new system, whether that be a political system, an education system, healthcare, our family dynamic, our relationships with intimate partners, whatever those situations that we're wanting improvement on, really will be found and manifested through our vibrational alignment. So I'm going to open up the realm for any discussion of what you're seeing that you're not liking, what it is that you're seeing that you love, what it is that you feel it's time for a shift, and why. And so I really welcome that feedback because it's going to be a much more fun conversation if I have some teachers and students and parents connecting on this instead of just me. But if it ends up being just me, that's fine. But I welcome you in and I encourage you to just be courageous and to share your feedback. And again, you can put a nickname. You don't have to put your actual name if you don't want, maybe for the school to fire you or for students to know that you were talking about anything. So just be honest and open, but share whatever name you'd like. So is there anything coming in yet?
Nope, but people are logging in.
Okay. All right. So one of the things that I'm going to read you is from the book Getting into the Vortex, which I've talked about so many times before. And I completely encourage you all to get this book. If you haven't ever heard of it or read it, it's an amazing book. It's got an amazing meditation CD in it. And the book is awesome, but there's so much that we need to learn about how, when we're going into meditation, that we continuously focus on our alignment with what we want, not what we don't want. And like today, I was talking to my yoga class. I was leading a yoga teacher training, and I was guiding them through a meditation and explaining to them that, when we're struggling with anything, it could be we want our life partner to show up, or we want a dream career to happen, we want more money, we want our bodies to be in better shape, maybe we want to lose 20 pounds. What I notice is that what causes humans to struggle is that they're often focused on the lack of something. They're focused on the separation of something. So when you're 20 pounds heavier and you're focused on your body and not loving your body, not liking where you're at and being frustrated about that. And so then you diet, you exercise, and you do all these external things to change that reality. But what happens is often we do not change our mind, and our focal point is still on the lack and the separation from what we want instead of putting our focus on what we actually love and what we're calling into alignment. So the example is if we're focused on the problem, then we're just complaining about our thighs, we're complaining about our body, we're insulting ourselves either silently or aloud. And if we shift into alignment and we're in meditation, focusing on, oh my God, I love that hot, sexy body. And we're focused on it. We're feeling what it feels like to be 20 pounds lighter. That feels nice. I can imagine walking around in that little bikini or, whatever we're imagining. I hope Amnon's not going to go get a bikini, but some of us may want to. No, but basically, we want to really visualize what it's going to feel like and look like and be like when we have that in our reality. So in vibrational meditation, we're vibrationally calling it to our center. So with my students, I'll tell them, imagine that your body is like an electric or like a lightning rod or a metal rod, and it's magnetic. And all of your dreams and goals, all the things that you're desiring are like little, well, I used to say metal shards, like little fillings, like those little filings, can't talk today, metal filings. But in my class the other night, one of the girls was like, that actually sounds really dangerous and like harsh. So I was making them BBs. So you can imagine whatever feels good to you, but you want to imagine there's like this metal, a magnetic center that you are. This is your source alignment, your vortex, so to speak. And you're going to visualize all these things that you want as these little metal BBs, and they're coming in magnetically attracting to your center. They're attracting and one with that metal core. Everything is in that alignment and it's one with you. And so when you're thinking of your body or you're thinking of your experience at school, because we're going to get into education, whatever it is that we're focused on, if we're in the lack of something and we're in the anger of something and the frustration of something, we can think we're doing everybody a favor by educating everyone about how angry we are about something, but in truth, you're not using your vibrational power in the most efficient way. So if you start to focus on where you're going, this is where we start creating leaders. And many of the souls that are here that are light workers and that these like souls that have come in, these children, a lot of them that are pissed off about what the situation's like with education, and they can see right through all of the misalignment. But the problem is when they're focusing on the problem, they're focusing on what's wrong, they're focusing on what they hate. And so they just become a part of the negative part of that misaligned system that's just angry about it and just frustrated and ranting instead of taking their life force and their energy and focusing on what is it I don't like here? I see this is not in alignment. So, what is it that would be amazing? What is it that I can see that would be more beautiful? How could we do this in a more aligned way? How could we do this with greater power? How could we do this with greater efficiency, more joy, more honor? And they start to focus there in meditation. And then when they're in those jobs as teachers or they're the students in that class that feels that they're just disrespected, they start to speak. They start to speak up. They start to express what they're needing to shift to, and they start encouraging. And this is where I think it's very important we get this because a lot of us, we can get passionate, but if we're just passionately pissed off in a meeting and we're just making everyone uncomfortable, it may not be the most efficient way to guide them. So you want to really think about how can my energy be more like honey to the bees and guide the bees in a direction instead of vinegar that's just going to piss them off and they're not going to like it. So even though we can see something's not in alignment, we need to really look at our vibrational alignment and shifting that. So how do we become these global shape leaders that are in the alignment of love? How do we embody love and guide that through our own aligned action? And that's going to take a lot of courage, a lot of truth, and a lot of patience. And a lot of the souls coming in that can see things are not in alignment, they're going to really be cultivating patience on this journey because we see the structure that's here right now. We know that not everything's in alignment, and it's going to take a little patience and time and lots of love and lots of focus on our intention of what we're creating to restructure this old program. So I'm going to pause.
Excuse me.
What?
You have a call.
Okay. Did you like that comment about you in a bikini?
Yeah, that's what took me so long. I had to run out, but they closed the store. Jennifer is on the
Nice.
phone.
Awesome. Jennifer, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. So, Jennifer is one of my soul sisters, and she's also an art teacher in the education system. And so, Jennifer, from your perspective, first tell me, like, what is it you're sensing that you see could stand to change and needs to shift? And then tell me anything that you feel that you have as a solution that's inside of you that you know could make it better.
Okay. So um, I'm not sure on the solution because I think it'll take a team of people to figure that out. But
Yes.
one of the things is that they often put more and more things on teachers' plates and give us less and less time with the students. And teaching to the test for state standards and things like that, I think, is an issue.
Yeah.
And kids, they're not looking at kids as a whole person. They're looking at math scores and social studies or English scores and things like that, and focusing on the score and how it looks to the public versus showing and working on the kid as a person and getting to know them in their personality and how best to teach to them personally and to connect with that child to best teach them.
I'm so glad you said that because that's one of the main things that I see is that needs to shift is the honoring of the whole being is very important. So I'm glad you said that. I totally agree.
Thanks. So
What
that's one of
else are you noticing?
Well, one of the things I don't want to name the school that I'm at or anything, but some of the
Why
kids come
not?
in and they
I'm just
haven't
kidding.
they haven't eaten, they don't have clothes, they have a whole bunch of well, not that they're coming to school naked, but they need a whole bunch of other stuff and they aren't having their needs met in other places. So the school not only becomes a school, it becomes a home, it becomes a medical place, it becomes so many other things where we're providing their only square meal of the day and other things. And that's an issue too because the kids can't, if they aren't getting their basic needs met in other places, then they can't focus on their schoolwork either.
Exactly.
So that becomes a societal issue, in my opinion, versus just the school.
Yes. Which shows the importance of that alignment all across the board. Like each child being respected and honored and taken care of is going to be a huge part of how much they're going to be able to learn and focus in school. So that makes sense.
Right. Yeah. Those are some of the things, I guess. Um,
Yeah. I totally agree
so,
with those things. And what do you sense, like, just from observing as a teacher? Do you have any ideas of what could help with those things?
well, as far as the school turning into more than just a school, I think our school does very well in trying to meet the needs of the students that have other needs besides just their education, so that they can focus in class. Teachers go out and buy their own snacks to give to the students, or we have a closed closet that the kids can go to if they need um, things and various things like that to help with that. Um, and they're slowly turning and seeing the child as the whole student versus their math score or this, and how to improve that number. It's just taking some time, I think. It's not going to be a quick change.
Yeah. And how long have you been teaching?
Uh, Overall, around 16 years, I think.
So in that 16 years, have you seen, like, when did that start to shift? Where do you feel like it ever was better and then it got worse? Or did you notice the change, like something happened in our government or in our rules where all of a sudden kids were just test scores?
Well, yeah, when President Bush was in, or the second one, W, was in there and did the Nickleby No Child Left Behind thing, that changed a lot of focus. There were tests before that, but it changed
But
things.
you
And
sensed a big shift then, huh?
well, yeah, since that time, yeah.
Yeah. And so it's one thing I've heard from other teachers as well is that, like, because of all that shifting and worrying, like how you said it was perfect, like worrying about how everyone looks to the public. Like if they look at their scores, what does that look like to someone who's judging it? Like that's just not right. They're not enough. They're not meeting their standards because of a
Yeah,
test. And I've heard so many teachers say that when that started to happen, it really took away a lot of the creativity in their teaching, and it became stressful
totally.
for the teacher because then the teacher was actually feeling all this pressure that their kids each had to pass these tests. So a lot of the focus went from, instead of educating them and teaching them these lessons that were fun and just, they could learn in their own way and leisure, it became all about
Right.
crunching for this test. And then
Hmm.
it was stressing out the teachers. And also, because of that energetic wave, it started stressing out the students and it started to really take away from the fun of school. Would you say that's true?
I would say that's true, yes.
Mhm.
Yes, definitely. Because then also teachers, because they all keep threatening then, okay, well, we're going to pass these laws that if the teacher can't get the kid to pass the test, then they shouldn't be a teacher. So that puts their jobs in danger too. So that
Yes.
doesn't make us feel safe either. And so,
Yes.
you're going to then follow through and teach to the test, so to speak, not specifically all the time, but so that you can have job security. And there's lots of public who think that that's a positive thing and they would vote for that, and government
Yes.
officials who aren't involved in education at all and making up these rules that they think that would work well in an educational system when they've never been in school since they were in school themselves.
Yes. And so they have no
Sorry.
concept of like what teachers are facing or what it's like for the students at all. Yet they're like, oh, this is all they need. This is what matters. Let's focus on tests.
Right. This will be the Band-Aid to fix the situation, and really it needs an entire reboot of the system. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because just recently I watched a movie which is totally off topic, but it's about the influence of fear. I was watching the new Planet of the Apes, and I don't know if
Hmm.
you've seen that film, but when one of the apes is a really aligned leader, Caesar, and he's very aligned and he's very much about protecting the family and protecting their home and what they've worked for. And then one of the other apes is very angry because he's not been given what he thought he should be given. He's not been treated with respect by the humans. And so he's pretty
Right.
pissed and he wants revenge. And he basically creates a way that he gives the illusion that these humans kill Caesar. And then he steps in like, we're going to avenge him, which to all the ones that are watching, it looks pretty good. It's like, oh, wow, what a great leader. He's going to avenge Caesar. And then
Right.
he's like pushing them into action without them thinking. He's like, we got to do this. We got to avenge Caesar. And what the son, the ape that's Caesar's son, learns at the end is that there is a lot of influence and power with fear. When you can take
Right.
something and you bring fear in, like you're saying, the teachers suddenly are worrying about losing their jobs because they're
Hmm.
like, if you're not meeting these standards, then you're not a good teacher. And they're like, shit. And so now all of a sudden that sense of safety and security of their home and their family is being threatened, and they just go into action without even thinking about it because fear is motivating them.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, do you have any sense of what could shift, or how do you even feel your own soul if you tuned into the power of your own soul and its influence? Do you feel anything that you're being guided to do, or anything that you feel you could inspire other teachers listening or parents listening that they could do that you feel would actually help correct that misalignment?
Wow.
You're
That's a
like,
tough
wow, that
one.
makes me think deep. And it's okay if you don't
um,
want to answer it quickly, but just feel it, and you could even meditate on that for a little bit.
yeah. Yeah. I would need to think about it a little bit. I'm not sure what the answers would be other than, like I said already, teaching to the whole child and not treating it as a test at the very end of the school year and focusing on that. Um,
Yes.
and maybe taking away the state testing, but also then you need to make sure that the schools are doing a good job. I mean, I see the point of the tests in the first place. They thought, okay, we got to make sure our schools are doing well because schools in China and Japan are doing so well and we are falling behind. So they wanted to then make more rigor and things like that in the classroom. And there's other ways to do that than the state testing, I think.
Yes.
And
And
they
when
have
we
other
get into
things.
that, what is all that? Like if you really tune into that, we got to make sure we're doing better in Japan. Like what is all that about?
It's all about competition and the reputation of the United States as being a world leader and being one of the best. And if our students can't compete as one of the best with other countries, then our reign will fall, or whatever you want to call it.
And
Not be the best
basically,
anymore. And then the
yeah.
Americans will not think that they're the best. And I don't know what would happen then, anarchy. But
Well, and what's interesting is it's that energy, we talk a lot in meditation and class about ego. The
hmm
ego can be tricky for just the individual, but then when it's at a collective level, it's really a big issue. It becomes this really big
right.
monster. And so now
hmm
it's like when in our circle, when we talk about women supporting each other and like being there for each other rather than competing with each other, and how good that feels. Like, I can breathe, I can relax because I feel these sisters support me instead of, oh my God, I feel tense and uptight because that chick's going to cut my throat any second. I can just tell. And so the energy of that competition and comparison, that energy we do with ourselves, if we don't clear that and heal that, we just start we start projecting it outward. And right now, I feel like what you're saying, it's like the country, there's a lot of misalignment in our leadership because they're all
It
about the ego. They're all about what they
is.
look like instead of what's in alignment.
Right. Yeah, I would agree.
And
Hmm.
there is a comment from Colette who
Okay.
says there is too much pressure too early to perform to their standards, I guess the school system.
Is she
More
talking about with for children?
to perform to their standards. I don't know who's they.
The children.
I'm assuming the school system, but maybe not.
Oh.
It says more
Yeah,
concern.
be clear on that, Colette. Like I'm, and by the way, hi, I haven't chatted with you in a while. So write in and let us know, like really clear what you're saying. Are you talking about with the students or
Well,
um what you're saying
good
exactly?
point. Now she keeps going. She said more concern about how the school system looks. Too much time
Yes.
spent assessing instead of helping children figure out how they can reach their goals, how to be a decent person.
Yes.
Yes.
For whatever reason, many parents don't have the time and or the ability to give this at home.
Yes.
So
hmm
Colette, just make it clear who is their standards, who is the them in here.
Yeah. Well, and what she's saying is, I feel so spot on. And there's
She
like two sides. I feel like what Jennifer's saying is schools become like almost like this place we just dump our kids off, like daycare, and you just think all their needs are going to be met because they're at school, and you
Yep.
don't help them in any way at home. And then the other side of that from my kids, like my kids are very taken care of at home, fed, they're, nurtured, all that's taken care of. But what my daughter said the other day was I felt pretty spot on. And I felt this as a kid myself. I remember I had the experience once where I missed like a week of school because I got sick. And that was a week of school. It's like 6 hours a day times five. And I missed that week. And when I got back, I got my assignments and I got all of that homework and everything done in about 3 hours, like maybe 3, 4 hours. And I remember just sitting there that day thinking about it, like connecting with that. And I was like, what am I doing? Like, what a waste of time. I am going to school for all these hours. And really, if I just focus and get my work done, it can move very quickly. And I feel like sometimes when the kids are going to school, like my daughter's point is she's like, we're at school for 6 hours, mom. And every one of these teachers gives us homework. And then we have like 4 hours of homework when we get home. And she's like, what the hell? And she was pissed. And she was, and it's every day, like it's constant. And I think because once they get to high school, each teacher's like, it's almost like they're told that they're supposed to. It's like the good teacher gives homework. And so it's like this thing where the kids, have to have homework from every class. Well, when that adds up and you have 6 or 7 periods that are giving a half an hour to an hour of homework, that's a lot of load for that kid. And then we're teaching our kids basically to be really misaligned leaders one day, in my opinion, because these are going to be the same people that the ones that will do well. What you're really doing is you're teaching them to conform and to produce some kind of result for you. And so they're going to jump through hoops and try to be accepted and do what needs to be done to get the reward. And then what are we doing? We're setting them up for the rest of their life to go work their asses off, work hard, hard, hard all day long, come home, bring their work home with them, keep working, and then just tell everyone it's because, I've got to get to this destination. And really, like from my knowingness as a meditation teacher and as a healer, it is out of balance. And my daughter, she knows it. She's in ninth grade and she's just like, Mom, it's crazy. Like, we should be able to go to school and they should just teach us in that hour whatever we're meant to learn, give us quizzes, whatever. But then we should go home and relax and like play and have a fun time with our family. And I totally agree with that. But I'm curious about you guys' perspective on that, teachers and parents.
So
So go.
Colette is I mean, I was right. The way that it reads, there's too much
Okay.
pressure too early to perform to the school system standards.
Yes.
And she's
Yeah.
adding that teachers don't have enough time to do the really important things because they are
Yes.
so busy with what's considered busy work.
Yes.
Yes.
It's like they got to get that test score. So let's keep
Yep.
talking about that instead of have fun and like go on a field trip and learn about science. Like we're sitting in there trying to get that test score to pass, and the teacher's stressing and the kids are stressing. And
Hmm.
that energy of fear is just totally destroying everything that that school is actually there for.
One thing I think that would help, because your statement about being gone for a week and being able to do your homework in 3 or 4 hours
Mm-hmm.
and everything, it reminded me is that I think what might help is that instead we take away all the grades like I'm in first grade, I'm in second grade, whatever. And
Yeah.
each kid, once they meet the benchmarks for that grade, then they move on. So they don't have to wait the entire year. So if you finish your homework for the entire week in 3 or 4 hours, then you go on to the next thing and you don't have to wait for everybody else. And trying
Yeah.
to keep an entire class moving together is impossible because you got 30 individual students and individual brains in that classroom. And
Yes.
some of them are highly advanced and able to move on, where others need a little bit of extra help or whatever. And
Yes.
they should be treated individually instead of, I'm in sixth grade, so I have to know this, or whatever grade they're in.
Yeah. Well, and one thing, like one of the things with that is like how we have one teacher, and it used to be, I don't know, like when I was in school, I think maybe there was like 20 students in a classroom about. That seems about like what we had. And nowadays, what do you have in your classroom, Jennifer?
Some classes are 30. One class is a little bit smaller, it's 25. But yeah,
Mhm.
they're larger classes, definitely. Last trimester it was 32.
Yeah, because I've heard a lot of teachers saying that there's too many students. And from my daughter's perspective, also, when she was in her rant about what she was so pissed about, and like she literally came home and was crying, and she was just like, I hate school. I don't want to go back, Mom. The teachers are mean. They don't care about us. And she was like, I want you to be my teacher because you're nice and you care about me and you're a good teacher. And I was just like, what is going on? Like, for a student to come home that emotionally upset, and she feels it a lot. And for one,
Mhm.
because we've talked in the empath class about being an empath, and she definitely is. She's a sensitive soul. She feels all that energy. And so at home,
Mhm.
I'm teaching her like how to be more conscious of bubbling her energy up and like not feeding off of everyone else, not absorbing their stuff.
Mhm.
But how many parents are actually teaching that to their kids, and how many kids go into that institution and they're just caught up in that energy and they're just wanting to get out of
Yeah.
there. And even the
Yeah.
teachers, if the teachers aren't educated on how to stay grounded and present, and they've got 30 kids that they're trying to keep focused, it's just exhausting, you know?
Yeah. Mhm.
And so that's kind of, I think, one thing that you were saying about focusing on the wholeness of the student. So, from my place in meditation, I've meditated and focused on this question for a long time because I've really been observing, like, how is it that I could help be a part of this shift? How could we each be a part of this shift as parents, as teachers, and as students? And one of the things I feel is that we really need to honor that student, and not even as a student, like, we need to see them as the individual soul they are, like what their unique
Mhm.
creative gifts are. If we're
Mhm.
comparing them, I think Einstein had a quote about how I'm going to terrorize this quote, but it was something like comparing, when you compare energies, one thing can look totally ignorant because you're comparing it to something else. And it's not that it's ignorant, it's just it's got gifts in a different way. And
Yeah. I think
I don't know
the
about
quote is some.
you. What's that?
Oh, the quote is something about if you judge a fish by his ability to
Thank
climb
you.
a tree, they'll
Yeah.
always think it is stupid.
Yes.
And so it depends on how you're testing that child or that soul. Yeah, as to
Yes.
what their gifts
Yes.
are.
And so what happens is when teachers start doing that and we're labeling these students and we're putting them in little boxes and like this is the troubled child and this is the artist and this is the singer and this is the jock. And then these kids, they want to be accepted. So then they go and they get into those boxes willingly and go, okay, this is my box. Like this is where I need to be. And then their soul's like, but I want to learn about that and that. And I don't really like
Mhm.
this, but this is the box they put me in. And so, what I feel we need to do as a society is stop labeling each other and stop putting each other in boxes. It would really serve us if we started watching these children when they're really young. First of all, societal shifts are mothers and fathers should really be conscious when they're making babies and really know that if you're making a baby, you're going to have a very lifelong commitment to that child, and you might want to make sure you want to nurture that. And if you're not
Mhm.
wanting to, this is where I'm totally pro for how people want to have birth control or whatever, because not everyone should be having babies, in my observation.
Mhm.
And these are when
Mhm.
we get these people that have children that don't take care of them, they don't nurture them, they're neglected. And then we throw those kids into a label of misfits, or they don't, they're delinquent children or whatever. And they don't even get a shot really because they're immediately thrown into a different box. But what if we started to
Mhm.
really nurture our children from birth and really make that sacred gift of knowing that's important? And then watch your kids. Like when your children are little, watch what they play. Look, watch what they make believe. Because your children are showing you what they came here to be. They're going to make believe they're an artist. They're going to make believe they're a teacher or a doctor. And it's often very in alignment with what their souls want to accomplish. And if we as parents just observe that and then open up doors of opportunity to help them learn what they need to learn for that goal, they're going to thrive and be happy. But I feel part of our education system is so about making little robot clones of each other. We need to memorize a bunch of stuff, get that chapter done, move on, take the test, pass, get a good score, move on. And it's not really any emphasis put on this girl is a genius. Like she should be a scientist. She is so smart in that area. What if we totally could focus her in that direction and give her the tools so that she could be very successful very quickly in her mission? And then this student that's an artist, we really encourage them to have creative classes that cultivate their artistic gifts because not all of us are here to do the same robotic things. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. I think that would be a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And Eileen is going to take. I mean, she's taking it in a different direction.
Okay.
But Jennifer, stay there. Eileen says, as a child, I was bullied quite a bit in school for being quiet and introverted. Some
Mm-hmm.
teachers even thought something was wrong with me, but I did extremely well in my studies. I was bullied a lot in sixth grade for my shyness. Kids thought I was strange. And she is, oops, wait a second. It scrolled now where I'm losing my space.
Oh,
Um,
it's
Kids thought I was strange, and even my teacher treated me this way. I finally stood up for myself to a gang of girls that was stalking me around school. And then they rallied most of the sixth grade classrooms to turn against me. So, as this quiet, awkward, shy girl, I was faced with a whole crowd of bullies who wanted to beat me up. The teacher did nothing and rarely stood up for me. My mother and I confronted the principal, and even the principal hardly did anything. All the blame was placed on me for causing the disruption, and I was treated as the black sheep. It was very traumatizing, and I spent 5 weeks out of school. However, I still passed all tests and memorized a 6 minute speech on an Egyptian queen. I was still a smart, kind girl who shined my light despite being an odd duck. However, I carried that trauma for years and I was quiet for a long time.
See, and I feel, and I send you love for that, Eileen. It's so interesting how similar our childhoods were. Like, I had very similar experience to what you were describing. And I feel like it's unfortunate that so many sensitive souls, I see them as sensitive souls, empathic souls, are treated like that. And that's one thing that we could stand in our society to shift is where we honor the ones that are quiet and we listen to what they have to say and we tune into their way of seeing the world because they often are observing a lot because they're so quiet. They're not necessarily even shy. Jennifer and I got into that yesterday of I just feel like we're giving these labels like you're shy, oh she's shy, she's the odd duck. So now you start identifying with that label and you start to be the odd duck, the shy girl, when truly you may just be quietly observing and that's the way you read the world around you. And there's no need for the label or for you to be shunned or treated differently. But this is where we have a lot of room for improvement. What you were just describing is what happened to my daughter the other day, where she said a lot of the kids just don't treat her nice. They don't seem to like her. And she thinks she's just weird. And she's like, is something wrong with me, mom? And I was like, oh, baby, like, no, nothing's wrong with you. I was like, you just are different and it's okay to be different. And you just need to observe their energy, but don't absorb it and try not to worry so much. I think some kids that are very sensitive, they care too much what everyone else thinks and it's funny because my son's the exact opposite energy, where he's just very aloof and he just doesn't act like he cares about anything. And it's so interesting how many people will come and want to hang out with him and be his friend because he's not really worrying about it. And so when we get into that, it's again about vibrational alignment, which this is why so much of the stuff that I am now teaching today, I really believe we should be teaching to our children, like teaching them about what an auric field is, teaching them about meditation, teaching them about vibrational alignment, teaching them about honoring their source connection and, really tuning into what it is that they're here to do and help them early in their life connect with that because they're so awake then. And what we really do is we put them to sleep, we numb them with all the pain that we're going through and all the stress, and we project that on them. And then we complain that they're not producing enough for us. I just think it's so hurtful and not loving, you know? So anyway, any feedback on all that?
Yeah, Colette is saying that some parents are so busy trying to put food on the table, clothes on their backs, roof over their heads, they don't
Mm-hmm.
have any more to give at home. And
Yes.
then you were talking about uh, having babies. And she says, Amen, Tonya. That's a major part of the problem. Many continue to have baby after baby when they weren't ready to have even one baby.
Yes. And again, that comes back to when we're teaching our children when they're young what love really is, when we're teaching them through our alignment. This is all going to come back to the parents getting into alignment. And that should happen now, not wait generation after generation, but the parents waking up and healing themselves and getting into alignment now will help them to actually give their kids a good running start at what they're here to do. And we need to really, like she was saying, a lot of parents do work. Some of them are single parents working more than one job just to make ends meet and to help those kids. And this is where maybe we don't need to have this all this homework. What if we started to look at life as play? Because my life is pretty damn amazing and pretty magical. And I feel like I'm a very responsible person. I'm a very capable being. I'm very intelligent and self-motivated. And I'm not stressed and worried and driven like I was taught in school. I feel like I've learned to unlearn all of that BS that I was taught so that I actually had a good chance to create the life I wanted. And so if we could, as parents, just, really start expressing this truth to the teachers, the education system, write into your Congress and talk to them about what your feelings are about it, and start visualizing that shift happening through your own alignment, that's going to help change things. But we can't just get mad and blame people that are external. We need to educate those people, and we need to do it with love, and we need to be a part of that change. And I think that's a big part of, having these kids have so much homework. And then there's a mom that's been working all day and she's just like exhausted. And the last thing she wants to do is sit there for 4 hours trying to help her kid get their homework done. And the kid doesn't want to be doing homework either. And I do think there's times where a little bit of homework makes sense, like when you're working on a project that's over time and they need to do a little bit here and there, or they need to go home and read a little bit each night or something. And that makes sense to have a little bit. But so much homework to where it's stressing out the student, the parents, and even the teachers, I think, when they have all of that stuff to be grading all the time and they can't just focus in the class, they've got to constantly be thinking of what else they got to send home with the kids. It just seems like a lot of doing this without much joy. It seems kind of crazy.
Mhm.
And we're not even teaching them what they really need to know. So I don't know. Is Jennifer still on?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still here.
So, do you want me to do a reading for you since you're on?
Sure.
Since you called in?
Okay.
So, do you want an animal card, angel tarot card, divine guidance, or the goddess deck?
The goddess one.
Okay. So, anybody else writing in, Amnon? Any other comments?
No, and I was gonna. I mean, for after the reading, I mean, I was gonna ask, Jennifer and Eileen, Colette, you, and anybody else who's listening, what's the best way for parents of a kid that is being bullied to address it?
Okay.
But
What do you
you
guys
can.
have? And then I'll share my opinion. What do you girls have?
I think that it should be addressed as quickly as possible and repeatedly brought to the principal or the teacher's attention. Because in the classroom of 30 kids, I'm not always aware of who's quietly bullying someone else. If it's like
Yeah.
a big deal, then I will see it and I will take care of it immediately because it's not allowed in my classroom. And I am one to stand up for a student. But it has to be brought to the attention so it can be taken care of, because a lot of kids are embarrassed or scared and they don't think that anybody cares and anybody wants to help them. And that's not always, or that's not true. On my part, I'm just speaking for myself, it's not true in my classroom. So, it needs to be vocalized, it needs to be complained about, it needs to be made a big deal about it because it's not okay.
Yeah. And I think nowadays that's
it.
getting more important. Like the bullying thing, because when I was a kid, I got bullied, like kind of like Eileen described. I remember being fifth grade and I got beat up behind the school. Like sweet little Tanya, can
Aw,
you believe that? I'm just
that's
kidding.
horrible.
But I was a sweet kid. I just didn't conform, and I was just that, like she was saying, the awkward one. I was just kind of quiet and I would observe things. I didn't really care about fitting in the way that a lot of kids did. And I remember it was after volleyball, and some girl decided she didn't like me and I shouldn't be in volleyball. And I think I just did really well and it threatened her. And so after
Mm-hmm.
school, I got beat up behind the school. And I just feel like that was the main bullying that I had. And then I kind of had to challenge and stand up to them eventually. But that's what we had at one time, was just this occasional stuff at school where we get picked on. But nowadays, that bullying is gotten more intense, where kids are texting each other, they're on
Yeah, the
Facebook
social media.
harassing each other. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's like they don't get to turn it off now.
Right, exactly.
So maybe
and
as a
and
society, like what you're saying, Jennifer, with school, the parents need to go in right away and address that. And hopefully, with aligned teachers, they're going to take action on finding a solution. And if teachers aren't, then take it higher. If the principal doesn't care, go to the Board of Education. Like, keep going
Yeah.
higher until it's given more awareness. And I think that, the more people that actually speak up and actually speak up with love, though, and stand in your power,
Hmm.
but at the same time, you want to show honor to who you're speaking to. Because I just sometimes see parents act crazy really quickly, and
Yeah.
teachers are just, it's like they attack the teacher, and I don't think that's right
Yeah.
either.
Yes,
Have you
um,
that
ever
does
been
happen.
attacked verbally, Jennifer?
Not very often, but yes, and I've had to stand up for myself. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and they're coming from a place of fear. I think in the situation that happened to me, that she felt that I was not. I was just giving her information, and she was very upset that she didn't have it sooner. And that I don't know if she's coming from a place that she felt that she should have known somehow, or that she didn't do a good enough job or something. And she was yelling at me, and so I had to stop and be like, okay, that's not how we're going to handle this. Anyway, I don't need to hear that whole
Yeah.
story, but yeah.
Yeah. And that's good. And sometimes we need to just kind of gently and powerfully let someone know that they're crossing the line. But I think that
Hmm.
we could probably do a whole show just on bullying alone. But I
mhm.
think, again, it comes back, we got to get back to that place of alignment in ourselves. And kind of like the girls that know me that have come to classes, I'm all about empowerment and coming into how am I here to change this? Like, I'm not afraid if something's out of alignment and it's even uncomfortable. Okay, this is happening for a reason. How do we shift this? And I feel the more of us that get in our own power and get in our own confidence, we're meditating, we feel very connected with our source of alignment, then we're going to know how to go into meditation and process this situation, asking for solution, and we will know what to do from that momentary connection. We have to go moment by moment into that awareness, and as a society, this may be a slow process, but don't wait for society to wake up. Wake up yourself and don't wait for society to align. Get yourself aligned. That's the quickest, powerful, most powerful path to transformation is our own stepping in. And don't underestimate the power of that, like how you can influence many from being in that alignment. Hey, it's
And
555.
Eileen,
Okay.
Eileen is saying, her comment is, no more silence around bullying. Speak
Yeah.
immediately. Let
Yes.
all kids shine
Yeah.
their light. Create a
Yes.
Hmm.
new classroom culture. All students, all teachers must be held accountable. Compassion and honor for all. Yes.
Yes.
That's
That's
that
so
that
important.
would be ideal, but
Yes. And it may
here,
take some time to transform to that, but
right.
hold your vision of that. Even if it's not here yet, hold your vision of what you want.
Yeah.
Picture a classroom, kind of like there's families, in our society that are so beautiful and loving and honoring of each other. And then there's families
Hmm.
that are very gangster to each other. There's like gangs where the people treat each other
Hmm.
terribly. So you can't expect those people to be like that at home and then show up at school and just be sweet and rosy. That's not going to happen.
Right.
Right.
But we
Right.
can encourage a shift through our own alignment and through shining the light on these situations. And, there's going to be a lot of societal shifts that have to happen where we really start to honor the bigger picture and not just get so caught up in like what's politically correct today. And then in a year or two, we're going to change that rule and it's all for an agenda. We have to really get back to that place of compassion and honor of life and what really is the best for every situation,
Hmm.
every soul. And that I feel that will find the highest solution, but it will take some patience for
Yeah. I
sure.
think also maybe removing competition and thinking that some people are better than other people, and feeling,
Yes.
and worth, have being worthy. I am not a bully because I am worthy just as much as that kid who I want to
Yes.
bully, or that kid who's being bullied. I'm worthy of not being bullied, self-worth stuff.
Yes. Yes. And a lot of that we need to start stepping into alignment for that to shift. And you know it's going to take a lot of patience on everybody's part to actually help with that transformation, but I do feel it's very possible, and self-worth is a huge part of it. If we're not feeling good about ourselves, someone's at home picking on a kid, that kid's going to go to school and pick on somebody if they're choosing that way of handling it. Some kids get picked on,
Mhm.
like I was abused at home, but I would never think to do that to anyone because I hated it.
Mhm.
But some kids handle it differently. They're abused and they go home, they go to school and abuse others. So it's just really shining the light on that and helping accept each other. I agree completely with, if we can clear that ego off of our planet, it's the ego, it is fear. In essence, the issue of every problem that we're talking about comes down to fear and ego. Because when we're just honoring life and we're honoring each other for what we are, and it's love, there's no problems. There might be things that we're moving through and we're recreating, but when there's fear and ego, competition, pride, all that energy is happening, it creates a lot of destruction.
And
So,
Colette is putting something here that's
okay.
important. Teachers
Well,
be,
we had quite a bit of people writing in. I love this.
teachers become so overwhelmed with all the unnecessary, they don't have time to get involved in situations like this. Or they might be afraid to get involved because you never know how parents will react these days. It's
Yeah.
all about them and the child, not building character in the children. It
Yes.
takes a village, she says, and not many villages are left.
Yes, that mentality of everyone looking out for the whole, everyone looking out for each other needs to really come back into the focal point instead
And
of everyone's on their own. Good luck to you, kid. Like you're screwed if you don't figure it
and
out. And really, having everyone helping and even getting more parents. Like as a parent, I volunteered all the time for my kids in school, but there was a lot of times I would be the one volunteering. I didn't see many other parents. There'd be a couple parents, and there was like the handful of parents that volunteered and came and contributed. And it's interesting because in high school I wanted to volunteer, but it's like suddenly it's not cool for you to be there. And so I honestly think it shouldn't be like that. I don't think that they should just shut the parents out all the way in high school because that's when kids might look like they're getting all, mature and like they don't really need you, but the teachers still often could use that support of help in the classroom and just guidance. And so I feel like we do need to get to that village concept of really everyone coming in and being a part of it. Even the people that don't have children could participate in, making donations to the school for funding, or they could go in and volunteer. Like they don't have to be a parent all the time to do things. And we could really help shift things into alignment if we don't look at it like, oh, it's their problem and not mine. And that's what I kind of think
Right.
happens a lot of times is people are just blaming it on everybody else. No one wants to pick up the responsibilities.
she's adding something else to this. She said, even administration seems to be afraid, and
Hmm.
teachers don't feel
Yes.
that anyone has their back.
Yes.
Mhm.
Well, and this is a thing. It's like the system of a gang. When you're in a gang, you're motivated by fear, and there's always some out of align misaligned leader that's calling the shots, that's waving the fear flag in everyone's face to move them into action. No one is going to thrive in that kind of a situation. You will take action and people will do stuff out of fear because they think they need to, but are they doing it from respect? It's like having a
Mhm.
parent that abuses you and screams at you to get you into action. You're going to do it because you're afraid and you don't want to get hurt, but you don't respect them. And
Right.
so, really, we need to get to that place where we're showing respect to each other and we're really having that honor for each other. And then we shouldn't be operating in fear at all. It should always be, what would love do? What would love do with this situation with this child being bullied? What would love do with this situation where there's way too many people in the classroom and the teacher's overwhelmed? How could we lovingly find a solution? And if we're focused in that direction, we will make amazing things happen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait. Eileen is adding there that envisioning and creating change one act at a time will create a big shift.
Yes.
Nothing will happen overnight, but
Yeah.
if we work every day, it will change.
Yes, and even go deeper than even the work every day. There will be aligned action, but start right now with visualization. Start right now with your meditation. Start right now with your stepping into alignment and how you live your life. I remember once my son was like getting so upset about like his girlfriend lying to him or not having integrity or something about some situation, and was just so upset about that. And I just watched him and I was like, it's interesting that you're so angry about that because this week we've had a lot of struggle with you in not having integrity. And so I'm thinking this friend of yours is mirroring to you something that you need to cultivate in yourself. So we need to each look at that part in ourselves where we can come into greater integrity, greater alignment, greater compassion, and we can be that change in every aspect of our life. If each of us takes just that step, a lot of things will start to shift because we will step in. If we stay back waiting for everyone else to have integrity while we're just lying all the time, good luck with that, you know?
Yeah. And here's
So
another
I'm
comment. Here's another
okay.
comment from Colette. And she says, many teachers are single parents also and
Mm-hmm.
couldn't get another job making that much money.
Mm-hmm.
She probably doesn't work in the North Carolina system. So they have to be very careful lest they lose their livelihood. So
Mm-hmm.
there is something else that's involved here that, well, if I make waves, I may lose my job. So I'm not going to even comment on this. I'm not going to do
Yes.
anything about this. Yeah.
Yes. And that's
All
again,
right.
it comes back to that fearful system.
Yep.
I think Jennifer and I had talked about this once before, like when something's going on and you're in the meeting and just no one's talking, even though everyone believes something could improve, but they just let that misline leader yabba, 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 yabba. And then they go back and do their thing because everyone is a little nervous. Like if I speak and say what needs to happen and I stand out from the crowd, they may totally shun me and push me out. What I would say to that, the alignedness in myself that is not afraid of any attachment to anything. And this is where it becomes very important that each of our souls do not attach to things or situations, outcomes, people, but we stay in our alignment. I promise you, as you step in and speak that truth from that place of alignment, if you're meant to be there, if it is for your highest good to stay in that situation, then things will start to evolve and flow because of your courage to be in that alignment. And if you do get pushed out of there, you will need to really tune into what you need to do about that. Do you stand up and challenge them? Or do you just say, you know what? My soul was ready to go. This is kind of a blessing. And you step out, you speak truth, and you go and find a new way to do things because you gathered the information your soul needed in that environment. So a lot of that's going to come to very much living in awareness for each one of us has to individually be in that alignment and not be in fear, or we'll never change anything if we're all just quiet little ants while the grasshoppers are pushing everyone around. You know what I
Yep.
mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to
Okay.
read Jennifer's card. So the card that I drew, which is not surprising to me, it's Athena, which is a Greek goddess. We were just talking about Greece, remember?
Yes, yes, we were.
So yeah, so that's kind of interesting.
Hmm.
It represents inner wisdom. It says you know what to do. Trust your inner wisdom and take appropriate action without delay. The message from Athena is I'm happy to assist you. However, you'll be most thrilled when you first consult your own inner bank of knowledge. And this is what that's saying is you each listening need to cultivate a daily practice of meditation and being quiet and tuning into your inner state of knowing. You have wisdom and knowledge inside, and then you will know what action you need to take from that place of alignment. For I assure you that this situation is already resolved and that you have access to all the wisdom that the universe supplies. The access to access this wisdom, you must quiet your mind, surrender all worries and other concerns to the loving and almighty power of the universe. Close your eyes and note the thoughts and feelings that come streaming into your consciousness. If you like, you can ask me to give you a signal that you've heard your inner wisdom correctly. So, this is basically saying when you've gotten that feeling, you can thank your angels, your guides, your spirit guides, Athena, to bring you to bring you confirmation of that solution. So you get a feeling this is the direction I should go. All right, guides, bring me a signal, bring me very clear confirmation that that's where you're guiding me to go, and that will happen for you. Um, let's see what else. But have faith. I assure you that you have heard and that the guidance brings you and your loved ones very good news indeed. So as we're practicing listening, we will really know what to do. And this gets us back into the laws of attraction alignment. We're being quiet. We're focusing on that classroom where things are peaceful and harmonious and beautiful. We're focusing on a government that shows honor and respect. We're focusing on teachers getting paid more than NBA players. Hey, why not? We need to start visualizing what we want and not stay limited to what's here. This reality is here because it's what we talk about a lot, what we think about a lot, and what we believe. And if we don't like what's here, we need to really start vibrationally aligning with what we want and what we'd love it to be as parents, as students, as teachers, as citizens of this society and this planet. We need to start to really be accountable with our own thoughts, our own vibration, and then our own aligned action that we get from that quiet time. Let's see. The other little bit on this card says about Athena is a powerful and wise Grecian goddess who oversees and protects those who call upon her. She's the goddess of Zeus, and her power animals are white owls and black pigeons. Although Athena is a warrior goddess, she does battle with wits instead of weapons. You can call upon her for resolving disputes and also for protection. In addition, Athena helps with creative projects such as writing, arts, and crafts. Isn't that so perfect for you, Jennifer?
That is really good, yes. And I was just
So,
asking my angels today for confirmation on things, to give me a clear confirmation so I wouldn't not understand it, or whatever. So it's funny that it's talking about that too.
so did that feel pretty good? Like they're giving you your confirmation?
Yes, yes, it does.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, any other questions or comments coming in, Amnon?
No question, but Colette is saying that she meant about that those teachers cannot make this money elsewhere, not that much money. So maybe she is in the North Carolina system.
Yeah.
And
Well, and
then,
here's where I'm saying they've got to focus on what they want, even when it's not there. It's like if we're focused on the lack of something, remember, if we get back to vibrational alignment, we're focusing on the lack, we cannot have it because we're focusing on the lack of it. If we focus individually, with each teacher has the power. Like one teacher, say Jennifer focuses on her abundance and she has it, but the other teacher doesn't. It's not like one's getting more privileges than the other or one's loved more. One has her focal point on alignment and she's calling forth her abundance very fast and powerfully. And the other is focused on the lack and complaining and saying there's not enough. And she has to
Mm-hmm.
have that experience vibrationally because that's where she's focused.
mhm.
So, this is why I completely encourage you guys to get this book and read it often and listen to the CD over and over till it starts to shift your consciousness back into alignment. We need to unlearn what we've learned. So many of us have learned limitation, lack, fear, and we've forgotten the luminous beings we are, right? Like Yoda said, we're luminous. This crude matter is not what we are. We are so much more, and we need to get back to that alignment of visualizing and calling forth what we love, what we appreciate, and knowing that we're worthy. This may mean that a teacher works at a school, she's not being honored, she's not being paid enough, she wants more and she's focusing, and it may come to a point where that job is pushing her out and she has to let go and detach, and then the universe brings in a higher vibrational experience. So this is where it takes great courage to live this life of alignment, because what I've experienced is it's not always given to you before you let go of the old thing. Often we need to clear the clutter of all the misaligned structure and then we call in the new. So just have courage. And if you live a life of trust and alignment, you will be fine. If you're in fear, you are going to call forth experiences of fear and lower experiences of misalignment, because that's where your focus is in fear and lack. So you are attracting to you what you're putting out in your frequency. I hope that you guys can really think about that again and again, process what I'm saying, because everything is vibrational. It's not like one person's favored over another, or this country, is superior, or this race is superior, or anything like that. It's we're vibrationally putting out belief system energy, and whatever we're putting out, we're drawing to us. So let's start shifting that as a country of America, of the US. Why don't we all start to focus on how beautiful this country is and how loving it is and how connected we are and how we reach out and help each other, even if we don't see it yet. If we each start to visualize our ideal, beautiful planet the way we think it would really be, where we thrive, this will be an amazing catalyst for that shift.
Yeah. And Eileen is saying that she got the book the other day,
Yay. Good job.
and she also adds visualization slash aligned action 50-50.
Yes. Yes. Well, it's kind of like you go into meditation, it's your little cave where you're processing and listening for the information. You get the knowingness, the signal, all the uploading happens, and then swiftly take the aligned action of what you feel led to do. And then you go back and you listen and you process, you upload, and then you swiftly take action. And it should really be in that order. What happens often is people are taking action, they get themselves in trouble, and then they're in fear, and then they finally go meditate and listen. Really start with that listening space every day. Begin your day by tuning in and listening and asking for guidance. The more and more that we reach out to higher consciousness for all the benevolent beings that are behind the scenes helping us, the more our day is going to flow magically because we're tuning in and we're asking for the guidance and the support. And those that are not asking, they're maybe having very chaotic, disruptive days because they're focused on the lack, the fear, and that's the experience they're having. We don't have to have that same experience, and it's very important that we go into that stillness and that we open ourselves to receive and then take the action. Yes.
And Colette signs off here with saying we all need more courage.
Yes. So here's your mantra. I am courageous. Maybe go write that down. Rawr. Go put that on your mirror. I am courageous. I am powerful. I am an aligned leader. I am a aligned leader of light. Like these affirmations, we start to really say them with power and think them and focus on them, we will start to be an aligned leader. We will be courageous. But if we think, I'm not courageous, I'm afraid, I'm this, I am statements are powerful. And on that note, I'm going to actually sign off with, I got this channeled message yesterday that just came through me and it was amazing. And I put it on Facebook and a lot of people really connected with it and started, like one of the girls was like, that is going to be my new prayer. And so I printed them out and I've been giving them to my students and I'm going to read it to you. And if you really love it and you want a copy of it, just go to my TanyaAngel555.com and send me an email with your, so I have your email address and just say, Tanya, I'd like a copy of the I am free statement or the mantra, and I will send you one. So if you'd like that, just let me know. But here's what I got from Spirit. It says, I am free. I release all attachment. I release the attachment for what anyone thinks about me, loving me one moment, hating me the next, all from your perspective and consciousness. I release the attachment to the illusion of security as I remain forever centered and aligned with my source as my perfect guidance and support system. I release the attachment of form of your need to control my soul's expansion. I release your dogma and false misaligned belief systems that I so clearly see are serving none. I release the fear of the unknown as I offer myself moment by moment into the greatness of Source. I release myself of all anxiety, fear, worry, and concerns of lower clinging consciousness. I am free. I am forever expanding into the greatness of my soul's highest alignment. Nothing will ever stop my beautiful, powerful, perfect expansion. So that is what I got. And so if you want a copy of that, let me know. But really start to step into expressing I am what, and be very mindful what you put after that I am statement, and you will really be amazed of how powerful you can start shifting your own world when you say how courageous you are, and when you stop attaching, you stop clinging, you stop letting fear make your choices. Every one of us at every moment is given the same opportunity of choice. My angels say every one of us has free will. We can, in a moment, choose a choice that takes us a step further away from our own alignment, our own truth, or we can take that step closer to that alignment or just maintain the alignment. So this may mean something challenges us. We could lose this job if we speak our truth, but speaking the truth is what our soul knows that it's here to do. So we speak that truth with love and light. We thank our angels for bringing it through us with love. And then whatever happens, we take that experience and we honor that answer, because we know that if we get that job taken from us, Spirit has a better plan for us. And we stop attaching to anything from fear because we know we're expansive beings that are here to maybe be here today giving a message, and then tomorrow we're meant to be here giving a message. So the more we can really align with that, we will not make any more choices from fear. And that's so important for us. If we want to really create change on this planet, every one of us needs to start making choices every single day, moment by moment, that takes us into alignment with our soul's highest truth and mission. We need to be honorable and truthful to self. Stop betraying yourselves. It's very important. Any last feedback? Because we went over almost about 20 minutes,
That's
but that was an
fine.
awesome show. Any other stuff coming in?
Colette saying many, if not most teachers I know aren't very open to these ideas. And Jennifer agreed with her. And I said, hey, no negativity here. And
Thank you, Amnon.
and then
Well,
she
and this is
said,
where it takes courage to speak it.
yeah, but then she said, but that doesn't mean I can't be. And Jennifer
Yes.
says the same thing. She said, I am open too.
Yes.
And
And
Eileen,
that's all that we need to focus on today is like these women in this conversation, if each of them has the courage to come into their alignment and start being truthful, always speak their truth, it may change their movie. I cannot promise you your movie won't change because in my journey, I speak my truth often, and there's people that come in and there's people that leave. There's jobs that open for me one day, I speak truth, and then I step away from that job another day. It's all about your own alignment. And the more you practice this and the more you see that you're not going to die and that if everything's going to actually work out for your soul's highest good, you will start to realize, oh my God, why did I let fear control me for so long? Because what a waste of your life force, what a waste of your soul's truth. Think about it that way.
yep, and they all thank you.
And I thank you all for calling in and sharing your insights. And I honor every one of your perspectives. And I know in my soul's knowing that we are going to change this for the better. So if each of us does our part, just think of how that's just a few more lights just turned on today of hope and of optimism instead of fear and negativity. Let's keep that focal point there together and we'll start creating shift. So I thank you guys so much for writing in, calling in. And if any of you want, we'll tune into this again in maybe a month or two. We'll connect on this topic again and just tell me what you've noticed has changed since you started shifting yourself, since you started to be the change. I would love to hear anything that you notice changes. All right? Okay, guys, thank you so much. Have a beautiful and blessed day, and namaste.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. Our weekly lineup of call-in programs includes Computers 2K Now with Amnon Nissan, Health In with Debbie Brook, Breaking Free with Marilyn Shannon, Lessons of Vietnam with NCVVI members, The Tawnya Love Show, Your Healthy Pet with Gisela DiCarlo. And if you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it at www.nissancommunications.com. Sponsored by Atomus.com, makers of quality video recorders and converters for professionals, CarolinaApparel.com, and DeltaForce.net.